What's up, everyone?
It's Danny
and Nick.
Today we're going to be talking about the best things to see and do on the big island of Hawaii. When we went on our trip, we stayed in Kona, and we also went in the month of September. So our recommendations in this video are about things to see and do when you are staying in Kona, and day trips that you can take from Kona or things to do around there. And then also best things to see and do in September and when the crowds are low and the weather and things like that. And we would also definitely recommend to have a car on the big island unless you're just going to be staying in one place and walking outside to go to the beach every day. If you're going to want to do anything else on the big island, you're really going to need a car to be able to go and experience different types of things there on the big island. I mean, you can go up a mountain and see totally different weather than the beach. You're going to want to see all these different things, so having a car is very helpful, and it wasn't too expensive to have a car there. So definitely recommend that.
We stayed on Ali'i Drive, which is the main road that runs through downtown Kona. It's where all the shops are, where the Ironman finishes, and it's the most famous road.
Our first recommendation would be to go to Keyhole Bay. This was the beautiful blue water that you picture in Hawaii, but this was not good for snorkeling. You couldn't really see through it at all. So if you're trying to find good snorkeling, we will have recommendations for that, but this is just a place to go take beautiful pictures or hang out by the beach. But there wasn't that much sand there, so you are sitting on rocks if you're going to be sitting on the beach. If you want to go on a nice beach hike, this is the great place for that because you could walk all around the water, up around the lava. There was even paths there to do that, and then you would walk all the way around. You could find a secluded place where it would be your own private beach and you're sitting by yourself and no one else is around, depending on how far you walk.
We walked about 2 miles down, and that's where you get to the lava fields and you get the really crazy blue, like turquoise water. It's turquoise because of the plankton, and as Danielle said, it's not good for snorkeling, but it is really, really good for pictures, and it's just beautiful.
One of the best snorkeling places is Kahaluu Beach. It is very close along Ali'i Drive in Kona, and there were so many turtles and a million fish all over. But because it is such a nice place to snorkel, it was populated. There were people everywhere. Two Step is another very popular location to go snorkeling. It was very populated as well, but there was more area to snorkel, so you had more room to spread out and didn't feel like you were over top of other people. Definitely lots of fish. We didn't see any turtles, but we hear that there were many turtles and dolphins around that area as well. We just didn't happen to see any the day that we went, but it's a very good location to go snorkeling. Along with Captain Cook, I personally think that Captain Cook had a lot more hype to it than there was actually there. You cannot drive to Captain Cook. You have to take a boat there. We rented kayaks at Bayside Adventures and kayaked over. It was pretty far to kayak, and if your arms aren't strong enough, you might not make it. But once you got there, it was pretty cool. But I mean, the other locations of snorkeling were better in my opinion and easier to get to. If you want to be in a more secluded place, then Captain Cook is the one for you because it's not easily accessible, so not many people go over there.
I thought the snorkeling was just as good at Two Step as it was at Captain Cook. I mean, it was on par, but then when you take into consideration that you can basically drive to Two Step versus all the stuff you have to go through to get to Captain Cook, it's not quite as worth it to go there when there's plenty of other good spots. I'm glad we did it, but it wasn't necessarily the easiest or the best thing to do. Two Step, I would definitely say, is my favorite snorkeling place, and that's where I would go first, but Captain Cook was still cool.
A once-in-a-lifetime experience that we got to have on the big island. We actually bought some snorkeling stuff from Jack's Diving Locker, and when we were there, the salespeople just suggested that we check out the night swimming with Manta Rays, and I wasn't that interested because that kind of freaked me out, and I wasn't interested in going in the ocean at night, especially with these giant creatures, but they showed us a video, and it was actually really cool. And then throughout our couple days in Kona, every person we spoke to said that we had to do it, so we decided last minute to sign up to do the swimming with Manta Rays at night. By far the coolest thing I have ever done in my entire life. You take a boat ride out to the secret location, you get out, and it's nighttime, so it's dark, so you have glow sticks on your snorkel, and then they also have this kind of surfboard that lights up at the bottom, and you're all holding on so you can float and look down. There are also scuba divers at the bottom with lights, so basically the whole ocean is lit up with these lights. And then the manta rays come up and swim in barrel rolls underneath of you. One touched Nicholas. It was so cool. So definitely worth the money. It was a little bit expensive, but definitely worth it to get to experience something like that.
The lights attract plankton, which is like the food source for manta rays. And manta rays are different than stingrays, so you don't have to be worried. They basically cannot hurt you. They don't have like the barb like stingrays have. So they're harmless. They're just basically giant like creatures that, you know, can't hurt you at all. They're like, some of them get to be, I think, 14, 15 feet wide, and they're really cool. Sometimes you'll go and you only see a few from what I've heard, but we saw like over 20.
So many.
Yeah, it was insane.
And we also saw monk seal. So those are the best things that we found in the area of Kona. Now we're gonna give some recommendations about other things that you can do within a day trip from Kona. Number one would be Volcano's National Park. It's very well known. It's a national park, so you should definitely go check it out. When you arrive there, you are going to purchase a ticket that is valid for a week. So if you want to go back multiple times, you definitely can, but it is quite a drive from Kona, so you might not be interested in driving more than one time, so you might want to spend a whole day there and just get everything done that you want to get done. We did a 4-mile hike, the Crater Rim Trail. So we hiked down, and first we saw the lava tubes, which was the most crowded part of our time at Volcano's National Park. It was basically people in front and behind of you all through the lava tube, but once you got out, you got to separate, and our whole hike down to the crater was pretty much by ourselves, which was really enjoyable. And then you get down to the crater itself, and you get to walk all the way through it if you choose to. You could go back the way you came, and it would be a lot shorter, but we decided to do the whole trail, which equaled 4 miles. And it was pretty hot because the sun's beating down on this black surface, but not as hot as you would think it would be where a volcano is. But you could see some steam coming up, which was cool, and then afar you could see an active volcano. And if you wanted to go and see that closer, you could take a boat to the active volcano and see lava flowing into the ocean. But back to our Crater Rim Trail, you finish walking through the crater, you go back up, and it's a whole loop, so you get back to the parking lot that you started at, which was really fun.
I would definitely recommend bringing lots of water if you decide to do the trail. It is definitely hot, and you're going a lot of elevation gain up and down. It is really cool though. You start in like a rainforest, and then you basically go down to like this like, you know, desert climate, you know, on the bottom where there's no life hardly at all, and then you go back up into the rainforest.
For us, we decided to go from Volcano's National Park to South Point because it was on our way back home and something that we thought we should do. And once we arrived, that was my favorite thing in all of the Big Island. It was so cool. So South Point is the most southern point of the United States, and you can stand right up there. Nicholas jumped off the cliff into the water, which was really cool. I just walked down and entered the water that way, but the water was crystal clear, the most clear water that we have seen in all of Hawaii. So that was really cool. You could see 30 feet down absolutely perfectly and see all the fish. We didn't see any other wildlife like turtles or dolphins or anything. I'm sure they would be around there, just not at the time that we were there, so we just saw fish.
If you're getting in the water, definitely be careful of the waves and everything because it's so windy that the waves just get to be really big. But the easiest way to, like, if you're jumping off to get in or out of the water, you kind of just, like, you'll see these, like, we'll put a picture up in here, you can see it, and basically, like, there's this, like, I guess wooden structure, and basically maybe 100 feet to the left, it's not a cliff as much anymore, and you can kind of climb up, scramble up the rocks to get in and out. Another really cool day trip that you can do is go to Mauna Kea. It's a 14,000 foot mountain on Hawaii, which is really crazy. It's like giant, mainly because you're going from like sea level all the way up to 14,000 feet. You definitely need a car to get there.
A 4-wheel drive car.
Yeah, definitely. They won't let you go all the way to the top without a 4-wheel drive. One thing we will say, try to stay up there as late as you can after it gets dark because you can see the Milky Way, at least we did while we were there, and that was really, really cool. So not only do you get to see the sunset and like this crazy like cloud blanket, but you can see the Milky Way. It was ridiculously windy while I was up there. It was like 60 to 70 mile per hour winds. We might throw a video in there of it. It was crazy. Another thing is you want to bring really warm clothes. Even though it's 80 degrees, 90 degrees at the sea level, it's like 30 something degrees at the top of 14,000
feet. And so windy.
So windy.
I basically stayed in the car the whole time.
And it's gonna always be cold at that elevation. I mean, no matter what, it's gonna be like in the 30s and 40s, like every single time.
Snacks and warm clothes were my things. I stayed in the car with my warm clothes and ate snacks. Something cool that we did at the top of Mauna Kea, or on our way to the top of Mauna Kea, was a hike to a sacred lake. And it's sacred, so you have to be very respectful. They don't really encourage visitors to go there, but it's not off limits. So we decided to do it, and it was pretty cool to be at a lake that was close to 14,000 feet high. Our last recommendation for something to do around the Kona area would be to do Waipio Valley. This was a far drive. Some people will go and stay a night there. We decided to just do it in a day trip, and it was perfectly fine to do that. You park at this visitor center parking lot, and you can walk down, and there's a lookout where you can just look over Waipio Valley. So a lot of people just go and do that and leave. But you can actually do a hike, so you hike down a very steep road.
Like 25% grade. Don't try to drive your car down there unless you really know what you're doing.
Basically only Jeeps were driving down there, and they were still having a pretty rough time, so we decided to walk it. We walked down, and then around you end up at this beach, which was beautiful. But
Black Sand Beach is awesome.
But the water was pretty rough, and we didn't really see anyone swimming in it, and we wouldn't really suggest to swim in it. But if you want to walk along the beach, then there gets a part where you have to take off your shoes, and you get pretty deep in the water to cross over. So some people turn around then, but we decided to take the chances, and we walked through this deep water and got to the other side. We were trying to find a waterfall that is very well known there. We never ended up finding the waterfall, but we found many other cool things. There were wild horses in this forest that we walked through, abandoned houses, abandoned cars, so many different artifacts there, and just different trees and beautiful scenery. So even though we didn't find the waterfall we were looking for, we could see it from afar, but we never actually went up to it. It was definitely a cool hike and scenic. Definitely worth it.
It's not a really clearly marked trailhead. Basically, you go all the way to the end of the beach, and then it's kind of like you have the ocean on your right, and it's like back into the left. Once you find the trail, you can probably make your way, although it was pretty overgrown when we were there. To get to Waipio Valley, it is a 2-hour drive from Kona. It's easy driving. It's not quite as windy as a lot of the other ones are. You go through really like basically a rainforest. So we experienced rain on the way there, and don't let that freak you out because you're going through really different like climate zones. So while it was raining, maybe 5 miles away, once we got over to the coast, it didn't rain, and it doesn't rain there that often.
So those are our recommendations for things to see and do on the Big Island. Since we were there for 6 days, we did have some favorite locations to eat at, so we thought we would share those with you as well. My top favorite, and I think Nicholas's top favorite, was Sweet Jackie Ray's. It was very close to where we were staying in Ali'i Drive, and it was popular. It wasn't ever too crowded though. We always got a seat. It was cool because the windows opened up, so it was just the fresh Hawaii air coming in to the restaurant. The food was always spectacular. They had good drinks. The staff was always really nice and accommodating as well.
One of the other big things in Kona to do, obviously, is the Kona coffee. If you're a coffee lover like I am, Danielle wasn't that excited about it, but you definitely need to get the Kona coffee while you're there. It's absolutely amazing. There's also coffee farms that you can go to and actually tour, drink the coffee there. We didn't end up doing that, but that's something that you can do if you're into going to a coffee farm and exploring that.
My other favorite restaurant was Amki's. My favorite thing was the ahi tuna there. It was so fresh, and it was fun there because you could sit outside. It was always crowded inside, and we never sat inside. We only sat outside. It was nice because you were in this secluded place on a little porch outside and got to eat this fresh tuna, and they had good drinks there as well. And at Amki's, they also had a special where you could choose 2 different plates and combine them and have a little bit of everything. So we did that. We had like beef and ahi tuna, which is a weird combination, but it was so good, and it was so much food for half the price of what you would get on the main strip.
My favorite place was Island Lava Java. It's right in the heart of Ali'i Drive, and you can see the ocean basically from anywhere that you're sitting in the restaurant because it's all outdoors. They have fantastic breakfast, lunch, and dinner. The breakfast, I think, what did you get, Danielle?
Waffles.
Waffles. I got pancakes.
They were so good.
They have Kona coffee, and there's a coffee shop right next to it that has Kona coffee that you can get on your way out if you're a coffee lover. Dinner's really good as well, too. We had tuna there as well, and a bunch of other really good things. So those are our recommendations and tips for things to do on the Big Island of Hawaii.
If you have any questions about what to do or see on the Big Island or anything in Hawaii in general, please leave them in the comments below. Don't forget to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel. We'll see you next time.
Bye.